Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. I'm your host Orange Zeppelin, and today I'm very excited because this is my 200 subscriber special. 200 of you people actually want to listen to me ramble about art and comics, and I very much appreciate that, which I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with my 200 subscriber special. I have some extra goodies that are going to be later on in the video, but one of the things I was doing today is I was going to film my birthday special where I have some really cool comics that I want to talk about. And then I realized that I have been saying for a while that I want to do a studio tour, which, I mean, is basically a bedroom tour, but we're going to call it a studio tour. It sounds a little more professional that way. So I think that's what I'm going to do today. It's a good day. I've got my coffee. Let's take a look at the studio. I've lit a nice candle so we have some comfortable ambiance for the room tour. This Otaku Sense Vegeta smell. We've actually sold a couple of candles from this brand at the anime shop I work at. We have a Sasuke scented candle that I have seen people actually recoil from. So, not fond of the Sasuke smell, but the Vegeta smell, this has a nice ambiance to it. I recommend the Vegeta candle. I actually want to show off a bit of what is going on with my shelves, because some people have asked about my shelves in the past. There is something very unassuming about this bookcase, and you may notice there are some holes cut in the sides, and that is because this is actually a former home for my Barbies that my dad made that I've repurposed into a bookshelf because recycling is cool, kids. It's actually very appropriate, the sort of knickknacks I have up here on the shelf, because in my 50 subscriber special, I opened up a package of these Batman cards, and I made the terrible mistake of eating the bubble gum that is contained within it. I didn't go into the episode expecting to completely swallow the gum. It's just that the gum disintegrated. Don't eat 30-plus-year-old gum. I was actually sick the next day. I didn't repeat that mistake with the Garbage Pail Kids gum from my 100 sub special, but I did do one of those Poppin' Kitchen sets in that episode. And as a little bit of a hint to the end of this episode, I am going to repeat my theme of eating very strange things on camera in my milestone episodes. But one thing that I wanted to show about the shelf, it's how I have 300 shelved. And I've seen some discussions online of people asking, how do you take a book that is a little bit awkwardly shaped and shelve it? Which I don't... It fits perfectly fine right here where I have it right now. I did previously have it set a little lower down, which normally I have my skateboards propped up against my shelves, as you've seen in the background of my vlogs. And when 300 was right here sticking straight out, it did bump against the skateboards, and so I did have it like that. But I don't like it like that because the spine is not out, and I want the spines to be out, damn it. Next to that, I also have my great treasure, issue 1 of the Ultimate Warrior's extremely, extremely cursed comic series. I would be delighted to find more issues of this. I definitely want the Christmas special. That might actually bring a curse upon my household to acquire that, but I want it. And below that, I actually have quite a bit of manga. Definitely not even a quarter of what my manga collection used to look like. I was always predominantly a manga fan when I was younger, and then I got more into Western comics when I was in high school. I'm very glad that I still have my volumes of Dr. Slump, because I didn't realize that that had actually gone out of print for a while. Which, Sandland, also, this is a very, very cool comic. If you can get your hands on it, it might be back in print. They are making an anime out of this. After however long it has been, they are making an anime. And I do know this was out of print for a good long while, so I'm very, very glad that I got it when I did. This is my paper stash. in addition to a stack of paintings over here, here is a loosely organized stash of a lot of my old art. I have a couple of different binders. I've got things that are not really well categorized. I have this thing about not wanting to waste any of my paper scrap, so I do just have this hoard of little strips of paper that were trimmed off of other things that I refuse to get rid of. I've got a Dragon Priest mask set up next to my plaques for good citizenship. This is my to-do list, which looks like I had a stroke while writing this. I need to just wipe everything down and start fresh, because this is a little scary to behold. What isn't scary to behold is this beautiful, beautiful collage piece. I really need to have this framed. This is one of basically the one print I have ever ordered off of DeviantArt's print services, and I'm really, really glad I did, because this artist is, as far as I know, no longer on DeviantArt. And this piece is called Hordak Snatches Baby Jesus. I fully believe that this should be hanging in the Getty. This is one of the finest art pieces I have ever seen. Which I would like to have more original art from other people on my walls. Mostly it's my own stuff that I have hanging up there. This self-portrait here I actually have some plans for. You guys know me. I have a tendency to completely repaint old paintings, and this is probably the last you're ever going to see of that painting. So I like the stoned cat. That might be the best part of the whole painting there. More bookshelves, nothing super exciting. Actually, no, that's not true, because I have Hero Quest up there. That's extremely exciting. But one thing that is exciting is I have my stash of sketchbooks on this shelf right here. This is, much like my manga collection, this is a very small percentage of all the sketchbooks I've gone through. I just did not have the space to keep everything. And as you've probably seen from my... That sticker is coming off. That's annoying. From my sketchbook tours, I do label all of the sketchbooks, which one it is, what roughly is the time span that I completed it over. So I think that all of these sketchbooks encompass years that I was in college and post-college. So nothing older than that, with the exception... Can I pull it out without knocking everything onto the floor? There we go. That is my very first sketchbook, and oh my god. Maybe someday I'll show off what's in there. Now the problem here is at some point in middle school, I decided to get a little smart alecky, draw myself into the sketchbook, and roast my old art, which would probably be a lot funnier if my middle school art wasn't also terrible. So it has kind of tainted the purity of my first sketchbook. Totally forgot I was going to give Kernunos a tea cake. There we go. This is actually where I keep my stash of single issue comics and my stash of heavy metal magazine let me make incomprehensible noises. Among other random one-off magazines I've collected over the years as just a visual library of neat things. This is where a lot of my art supplies live, and right now this is a little bit of a train wreck, and we're going to get to that in a bit. Here's all my metal tapes and my beloved Victrola. And over here is my... Let's have some slightly terrible lighting. There we go. Actually, that looks way better. This is my gaming shelf, and I want to showcase this for a second. Not a good screen. That is what we call dead pixels, and as far as I know, that is not fixable. But I just like what I did with this particular system here. I have been buying busted Game Boy Pockets and cleaning them up. I actually never had a Game Boy Pocket growing up, so I did want to keep one for myself. And so I kind of Frankensteined together a couple of different shells to do the black and yellow color scheme, and I think it looks really cool. I might buy a backlit screen to replace the one that is, as you can see, turning into an Etch-a-Sketch there. But I have gotten quite a few Game Boy Pockets into much, much nicer condition, and I'm very happy that I'm able to do that. Okay, so what we're gonna do right now is we're actually gonna open a giant can of worms in that when I was organizing last night, I didn't get around to doing the art supply pile, which is what I was hinting at earlier. We're gonna try to see if we can't just organize this a little bit, and in doing so, show off what I use pretty often. We're actually in the perfect perspective to showcase another example of me being a hoarder. Those are all empty cardboard boxes that I'm hoarding specifically for my Game Boy Pocket eBay selling thing, because eventually I'm going to need a cardboard box of that exact dimension, and each cardboard box has other cardboard boxes and other packing materials within it, and that occasionally goes toppling over sideways. Now, here lies the difficulty in that this particular spot is kind of where all my in-progress things get piled. Just piled up against this thing. My sketchbook is always in that position. I've got various notebooks that all relate to in-progress projects. And then I've got a couple of different other things represented here. I've got a top secret stop motion project that I need to be working on, so several things refer to that. I've got something that I have prepped for an oil painting. So there kind of is just a pile going on. And honestly, part of the objective for cleaning this whole spot is I dropped a tube of gouache down here at some point, and it just fell into the shadow realm or something, because for the life of me, I cannot tell where that tube of gouache went. So there might be some digging. I'm actually glad I found these because I kind of want to bring them to work. We got a chalkboard at work that I can decorate for the seasons, and so this is the one time in which I have found use for chalk pastels. Got my colored pencil. What is all of this? This is like Pandora's box. I'm going to be finding all sorts of weird crap under here. This is actually where I keep all of my watercolors and my gouache, which I use pretty darn often. I'm very fond of both mediums. This is what I put a lot of my larger art into that just isn't going to fit in the greater art hoard. And any paper I have that just, it's too big to fit anywhere else. I actually have some larger comic pages in here. A lot of my zine stuff is stored in here. And then I've definitely, somewhere in here, I got a bunch of Whoa Awesome Space Babe pages. Actually, yeah, right there. All of my Whoa Awesome Space Babe pages are stashed in here. At this point, it's looking like that tube of gouache might have literally gone to the shadow realm, because I definitely don't see it down there. But anyway, we're going to tackle this thing next. Now, my drawing supplies, these are actually not in terrible disarray. I do have an extensive hoard of pens, but for the most part, it's not too complicated. It's the painting stuff that is the hot mess, because I have... Alright, so those are brushes, right? Those are all brushes. There's a palette. There's a second palette somewhere floating around here. There's my oil paint palette. I need to actually get that out. And I do need to condense all of my brushes down. So it's really the painting stuff in which the real chaos begins. I did actually let some watercolors go not that long ago, because I did have some mildew on the palette itself. We live in a very, very moist area. We're right by the beach. And so mildew is something we are constantly battling, and anything that is going to be very moist, like watercolors, as you can imagine, are going to be really susceptible to things like mildew, which you can clean your watercolors pretty easily. But in this case, it was just a set that I didn't really care for that much, so I didn't feel like it was too terrible to let them go. This right here is actually one of 2 bags that I have prepped for if I want to bring my art supplies with me on the go, maybe to work. I have another one that's actually in my backpack for work. So the best place for these right here, these water brushes, would be in here, because this is what I bring when I actually want to do some watercoloring. So I might bring Bring a set like this with me because this can very easily fold up, stash in there, or sometimes I might bring this set with me. This has a really nice, convenient folding system, and this has really, really nice vibrant colors. Usually, I sometimes use this not just for when I'm bringing watercolors with me on the go, but when I'm just doing watercolor stuff here at home because it's a really good set of colors. I think this is the palette knife that I used to eat applesauce once in my painting class because I forgot my spoon. There we go. That is looking much nicer. And this is the other half of my paper stash, which I don't think this is in tremendously bad shape. This actually is probably as organized as my paper ever could be. I'm actually thinking I want to keep all of my palettes together in one spot rather than having them spread through wildly different parts of my room. I'll just put them with my acrylic paint. Alright, now I have this scooted back a little bit further, so with any luck, I won't have to physically crawl under my desk in the future to access my paint thinners. I will have to prop my in-progress things up back into the stack, but that is okay, because I'll get around to them very soon. Now, I like to have this placed up right on here to serve as a secondary tabletop, but I feel like that's kind of hiding my stash, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave it uncovered. Alright, I think things are looking much, much tidier. I think I'm going to be able to get to my supplies with a lot less chaos and headaches and knocking things over, because everything in my room is very much Tetrised into place. How can I put the most amount of things in a very small amount of space? So I'm happy that's all tidy. And you know what I'm gonna do? Because while I was tidying up, I pulled out the folder I keep all of my zines, and because it is the 200 subscriber special, I'm gonna give away a bundle of zines and some stickers. So if you comment down below, tell me what your favorite art medium is. It doesn't matter if you are an artist or you just are an art admirer. Just whatever medium you like the most, and I will pick a comment. I might roll a die and we'll pick a comment at random, and then you will get a zine bundle, and that will include my very first issue of Brain Fart Comics, which I believe I did not put the date that I made this in. I can definitely find out. I want to say it was 2018. You will get the last issue of Brain Fart Comics 2. I actually am out of Brain Fart Comics 3, so with 1, 2, and 3, once those are gone, those are gone. But with 4 and 5, I will do reprints of these. So this, I think this is the last print I have right now of Brain Fart Comics 5, but I can reprint more of this. So 4 and 5, you definitely want to get these together because there is a story that is going across each issue. I did make these over a kind of long-ish span of time, so the art has changed quite a bit, and the way I've made comics has changed a lot in that time. But I really do think that you'll enjoy seeing that change, and I definitely think it is for the better. Stylistically, I've gotten significantly better at art. I sincerely hope I have over the years. And then again, you'll get some stickers. And if anybody wants an issue of Brain Fart Comics 1, at this point it's like just ask and I'll send it to you, because 1 is the I was still figuring out. That one's not quite as good. And then I do have this one printed out. I need to go hit up the printer and make some more issues. So on that note, thank you guys so much for tuning in along on this hopefully interesting and informative studio tour, seeing what kind of materials I work with and what kind of what kind of things I have around me as inspiration. I appreciate everybody's support. Maybe it doesn't seem like a lot of people compared to other channels. To me, it feels like a lot of people. So we're not quite done yet, though, because, like I said, I gotta continue my tradition. Milestone episodes, we gotta eat something weird. So, alright, so I've got my potatoes on the stove boiling. We're gonna have some beautiful, delicious mashed potatoes to go with our presumably very beautiful and delicious haggis. And so this particular haggis, I should note, this is actually a beef haggis. I was unable to find a lamb haggis available. And we have a wonderful combination of Highland beef. We've got oats, we've got beef liver, we have suet, and various other seasonings. This does not contain lungs or any other organ meats. And I think it is. Hi, Cateles. Are you begging for haggis? Are you excited? I think because this is for sale here in the United States, and we have laws against the sale of things like lungs, which I can't say I'm too terribly disappointed, because I've seen haggis prepared on a mass-produced scale, and lungs are one of the most upsetting-looking meats I have seen, so I'm not particularly upset about missing out on that, though a traditional haggis, I think, would be very delicious. So, let us crack this bad boy open with the world's most terrible can opener. Alright. There we go. The irony here is, as the one left-handed person in the household, I'm the only person that never seems to have any issues with can openers. Alright. We have cracked open our haggis, and as I have seen from other YouTube channels, we are expecting something a little bit on the fatty side. It doesn't smell bad. It smells like a nice seasoned meat, which is that is basically what we're looking at. So let's relocate over to this side of the kitchen. I do notice there's a little bit of a dent in the can. I don't think we're gonna die. I think we're gonna be perfectly fine. Based off of what I've seen, this is going to be, if we can get it out, it's going to be, oh my goodness. Let's get some technology for this. From what I've seen, this, oh, it's coming out on its own. This is going to be a little on the fatty side, if it's anything like the other brand I was looking at. So we're not going to use any additional cooking fat. I think it shall be quite well lubricated on its own. Alright, so we have our delicious haggis pillar here, and so let us slice these into little patties. I mean, the instructions do tell us we're going to dump the whole contents of this into a saucepan, as if we are making something like chili, but this is America, and I'm going to prepare my ground beef in the way that is most American, and we're going to make them into little burgers, I think. You could definitely make little haggis sliders. Alright, that's holding a solid puck shape. I don't want to make them too thick and make it difficult to cook thoroughly through. I'm sure this is in fact thoroughly cooked, and I could probably just have a little taste of that. I can hear my cats meowing. They are really excited to have some of this haggis. You can get that oat texture. Does have a noticeable spice flavor. I don't know what it reminds me of. It's maybe some other weird canned meat that I've tried in the past. It's actually got a good amount of spices and flavors, so this is going to be, I think, a fine feast. All right, so we have our attempt at haggis patties here. You can see that they didn't necessarily stay together, which you are supposed to break up your haggis as you cook it, and I was trying to burger it up. That wasn't necessarily the most optimal plan, but I think this looks pretty good. You can see that nice oaty texture there. Let's give this a try. Now this would probably be really good with some whiskey cream sauce, especially to go into that mashed potatoes, but I do have ketchup in the event that this is strange, though I don't have very much ketchup to balance out the amount of haggis I have here, but I feel like this is going to be pretty good. It smells good. It's got a little bite right there. I think that's pretty tasty. So what it was reminding me of earlier when I had it just straight from the can, it took me a second to remember, but it kind of had a Braunschweiger flavor. So it was the liver that I was really noticing. And I think now that it's cooked, the liver flavor is a lot less strong. And also the texture is a lot softer. Our oats have cooked, I think, a little bit more. And so it's got a little more of a creamier flavor, and now the fat has actually melted down. It was pretty fatty, so this has like a nice creamy sort of consistency to go with it. It still does have a strong liver flavor. I was initially thinking that was the spices, but it definitely is the liver. And that's pretty tasty. Everybody acts like haggis is going to be the most disgusting thing ever, but everybody who has had haggis that I've seen comments from has said that it's very, very delicious, and I'm inclined to believe them, even though I am having this out of a can. So you know what? 10 out of 10. I recommend this haggis. Alright, it is now the next morning, and I have a little bit of leftover haggis that I've just warmed up, so we are gonna make ourselves a beautiful and delicious haggis breakfast burrito. I've got some eggs scrambling over here. I got a little bit of mashed potatoes that I'm going to warm up. And I've got some salsa. I might add a little bit of cheese also. Now there is some fine cuisine. So I'm going to have to look up online if people have already made haggis breakfast burritos a thing, because this is pretty darn good. I think that the egg works very well with the haggis because the egg is a much milder flavor compared to the haggis. It works similar in how the mashed potatoes work to balance out the haggis. And I do like the addition of the kind of sweet salsa I put in this. So once again, 10 out of 10 haggis. Would absolutely recommend